As a small business owner, writing a decent proposal takes a good portion of your time. It's very easy for a prospect to say, "Come back to me with a proposal," when they might not even have any intention of moving forward with the project. Businesses often ask for proposals from lots of companies at once to weigh up their options, but when you enter this game, unfortunately it's not one you can win. And it's simply not feasible as a small business to send out hundreds of proposals in the hope that you land a few. As you grow your business and speak to an increasing number of potential customers, you could easily end up with a mile-long list of proposals to write. With all other factors the same, those who send fewer, higher quality proposals are likely to get better results. We want to be highly targeted in our approach rather than casting a wide net. So, there are a lot of hurdles to navigate when it comes to proposals, but to overcome this proposal paralysis, I put together 5 tips to help you decide when and how to send a proposal. First and foremost, you want to make sure that the project is aligned with your business goals and objectives. Although it can be tempting to take some jobs because they seem like quick cash, there's rarely such thing as a quick job in our industry. You're better off using the time to find work that you really care about and would be happy to show future prospects. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing business owners get caught up in projects that seem important in the moment but are actually just a distraction covered in dollar bills. A quote that I heard is to make sure that you don't major in the minors. That is, don't spend your energy and attention on minor things. So how can you make sure the project in question is aligned with your goals and ambitions? Simply keep a clear list of your goals nearby so that you can refer to them at any given time. Whether it's on your phone or in a notebook, the simple act of referring to your goals on a daily basis can go a long way to making sure you achieve them. I always know who my top 5 ideal clients are, so if I'm being asked to get involved in a project that requires a proposal, I can decide whether or not the job in question will bring me closer to my 5 ideal clients. Tip number 2 is to replace documents with conversations. Ask yourself, is the proposal absolutely necessary and the best way to demonstrate my value? In other words, is a piece of paper or PDF document really what's needed at this stage? Could you instead arrange a conversation over the phone, or ideally in person, to find out more details about the project and gain a deeper understanding of the prospect's business? Business is all about relationship building, and if a business owner is confronted with 2 options, one being a beautifully created PDF document from a company that they spoke to once, and the other being no formal proposal but time spent building a relationship and creating trust, the latter will usually win. If you're uncertain whether or not to send a proposal, pick up the phone to your prospect and follow the questions I set out in my video called Master the Meeting. This will give you all the information you need to make an educated decision and move forward. Talking of meetings, the next tip is to close in the meeting whenever possible. With smaller budgets, usually under 5k, and with smaller companies, when you're speaking directly to the sole decision maker, there's often no need to prolong the process by going for more meetings or writing proposals. Doing this comes with practice, but when you follow the steps set out in Master the Meeting video and apply results-based pricing, you'll have all the information you need to cost the project on the spot. The other benefit of going for the close early is that it brings up any objections and obstacles that the prospect might be hiding. When you ask someone to bring out their checkbook, they'll quickly reveal anything that might be holding them back from making a decision. This isn't something you should shy away from. In fact, it's better to uncover and tackle objections early than to let them come out later when they're much more difficult to resolve. I go into handling these in the video on overcoming objections. If you can't close the deal right away, then one thing you absolutely must do is set a price anchor, which is my 4th tip today. This is a point that I keep coming back to time and time again, simply because it's so essential to many different aspects of business mastery. When I first went into business, I remember going into meetings, chatting with the prospect for an hour, then more often than not, I'd be asked to come back with a proposal without ever having discussed a price. To be honest, I was too scared to say any number in the first meeting for fear of putting them off. After the meeting, I'd go home and start writing down all the brilliant creative ideas I had and ways I could approach the project. I'd always leave the budget until last because I believed the creative would determine the cost. However, in business that couldn't be further from the truth. There's no point writing a script or treatment unless you know what the budget is first. There's really nothing more challenging than coming away from a meeting not knowing how to position your offer. Instead of drawing blind, you want to come away from a meeting having laid a clear price anchor. It ensures our budgets are relevant and expected. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you drop a $100,000 price anchor in the meeting and the prospect doesn't object, then you know that $3,000 is going to be laughed out the door and $200,000 is too much. you can now create a proposal that's relevant and expected. My fifth and final tip today is don't be afraid to ask the important questions. I've already said how fear and scarcity used to drive my early meetings, and that went beyond just talking about price. When deciding whether or not to send a proposal, you want to give yourself as much information as possible to make the right decision. Unfortunately, most people feel too uncomfortable or forget to ask these two important questions. The first is to ask the prospect whether or not they're talking to other suppliers. By asking this, you can find out if the prospect is serious about hiring you or if they're fishing for options. Sometimes companies are obliged to send proposals out to lots of people to give the appearance of a fair game, even when they already have a vendor in mind. This can be insanely frustrating, but the simple solution is to make sure you ask the prospect how many other vendors they're sending their proposals to and if they've worked with any of them before. It's not unreasonable for someone to ask for quotes from 3 or so companies at the same time, but the way you'll respond to a company doing this will be different to one who only has their eyes set on you. Furthermore, if they say they're speaking to lots of companies, or that one of the companies is a close friend, or has done video work before, then that's a big red flag and it's probably better to move on. The second question to ask the prospect is what criteria they're using to make their decision. This is one of my all-time favourite questions and is so often overlooked. What better way to get ahead of the competition than by asking the exact criteria by which the prospect will be choosing a winner? Since I started asking this question, I can't think of a single proposal I've lost, and the feedback I get from the prospects is often amazement that I was able to create something that was so perfectly fitting to what they wanted. And finally, a small bonus tip: if you find yourself in a situation after a meeting or call where you've agreed on a price but you're not sure whether or not they want a proposal, you can say this in your follow-up email. As discussed, the price is X. Please let me know if you'd like more information or a formal quotation. My invoicing terms are 60% deposit due before pre-production begins and 40% on completion, payable within 14 days. Are you happy with everything we've discussed so far? When I receive your confirmation, I'll send over the first invoice and work will begin. Well, there you have my 5 tips on when and how to send a proposal. To recap, they were: to make sure the project is aligned with your business goals, replace documents with boring conversations, close in the meeting whenever possible, set a price anchor, and don't be afraid to ask important questions. If you have any questions about this video or any of the topics we've covered, then don't hesitate to email me or ask in the members Facebook group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.